Joining me on GCS Today is Jill Hendrix. She is the Spanish teacher at Stanley Middle School. We appreciate you being with us today.
Thank you.
Now, Jill, you had an interesting experience this summer. You spent 6 weeks in Panama teaching English.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that experience.
Okay. I was placed in an elementary school with a teacher to work one-on-one with her and help her increase her language abilities in English and learn things as well myself about teaching another language and work with the children there.
So this is part of the Panama Teach program, is that correct?
Panama Teacher Match.
Teacher Match
Yes,
program.
yes. It was, the program was developed in response to an initiative by the president of Panama called Panama Bilingue, where he wants his teachers and his students to become bilingual.
Okay.
His goal is 5 years, and so it's to increase the language abilities of the teachers and the students. And so the Teacher Match program was created, where they send teachers down there every summer for the next 5 years and match them one-on-one with the Panamanian teachers.
Okay, so there were 160 applicants nationwide.
True.
And 20 were selected, and you were one of them.
I couldn't believe it.
How did you feel knowing that so many teachers wanted this opportunity, and you were one of only 20 selected?
I felt very underqualified.
Well, certainly you weren't.
Well, when we first, found out that we were going to be doing this, and they sent out kind of like a little blurb about everybody and what their qualifications were, I was like, oh my goodness. But I was just honored. I was honored, and when I went down there and met all the teachers that were chosen from across the nation, from Texas and Oregon and Washington, D.C., and you go into a room with 20 people, 19 people that you don't know, and then 6 weeks later, you are so close with them and you've had so many wonderful experiences, and I've learned so much from them. Then I thought, yes, I added something to this program as well as I took something from it, yeah.
You said something interesting a moment ago. We place an emphasis in the United States on students learning another language. It's interesting that you see that same emphasis in other countries, and they're wanting to learn English.
Absolutely. They see the value in it, I think. When you learn a language, you learn about people and cultures and places, and you learn it differently if you know their language than if you speak your language in that country. So once you learn another language, it just opens doors and windows. What
was a day like in Panama? What did you actually do?
Started very early in the morning. The school I taught at, the youngest children, 4-year-olds, came in early in the morning and left around lunchtime. So I would work with the younger children in the morning and then the older children in the afternoon. And it was like team teaching. So I had a teacher that I worked one-on-one with, and she and I would plan together and execute our lessons together. We would sit down after a lesson and talk about what went well and what didn't work and what we needed to change and challenges like that. It was very hot. You got very, very tired because of the heat. We take that for granted here. We have air conditioning and we're comfortable in our classrooms, and it's exhausting to teach in a country where it's so very hot like that, So yeah, that was exciting. That was interesting. It was challenging.
We expect air conditioning here. It really is a luxury though, isn't it?
There's a lot of things we expect. I came back and I thought, I won't complain when the copier's down because we didn't have copies. I was in a rural area. Not every teacher had that same situation. When they interviewed us, they asked us, did we prefer rural, urban, suburban? Do we prefer elementary, middle, or high school? And they tried to honor what we felt most comfortable with. I wanted a rural setting. I wanted to improve my Spanish. And so I wanted to be surrounded by people that didn't speak a lot of English so that I would be forced to speak Spanish. That's what I got.
Now, you were in the position of being the teacher, so you were teaching.
Correct.
But it also was a learning experience for you.
I learned a lot from the teacher that I worked with. I learned a lot watching the other teachers teach their lessons in Spanish, teaching, math and geography and social science and things that they did. On my planning times, I would, roam around the classrooms and see things that were being done. I learned a lot from the other teachers that I met from across the country. When we had a WhatsApp, the social media, WhatsApp, we had a group message there, and we would, talk with each other about what was working and what wasn't, and what was our challenges. And when we came back together, sometimes on the weekends and at the end in our debriefing, just the information and things that I learned from my other colleagues was invaluable.
Now, after that 6 weeks, you stopped and asked yourself, was this really worth it? And you had an experience involving one of the students that told you, yes, it was worth it. Tell us about that.
He was in a third grade class, and he looked to be at least a fifth or sixth grade. He was really a much older boy. And I asked the teacher about him, and she said, yeah, he missed a lot of school and he wasn't there very often. And he'd sit in the back of the classroom and kind of, with his body language, I don't care. And just in my heart, those children always speak to me, and so I, would call on him in class, and I knew he was listening to me, and next thing I know, he's moving closer, and he has an interest. And there towards the end, when I was getting ready to leave, he said to me that he was going to go to high school. And not all the children in the area that I taught in will go to high school because they can't afford to, it's too far away. And he's going to go to high school. He wanted to study and he wanted to learn English. And I just thought, if I made the difference for one child out of the whole 6 weeks, it has to be worth it. Because it was a difficult 6 weeks. I was in a rural setting. I was living with a family that wasn't my own, and they did things differently. And and I missed my family. But I would do it again. I would do it again in another country, and I would encourage anyone that had the opportunity to do it, because you learn a lot about yourself, and you learn a lot about other people and other places.
It's very obvious that you made a difference in Panama this summer.
Thank you.
And I know that you're making a difference every day in your classroom at Stanley Middle School, and we appreciate everything that you do for us. And we appreciate you being with us today here on GCS Today.
Yeah, you're welcome.